Hello, and welcome to A Product of Proverbs. I'm Joshua Fowler, the host of this podcast, in which I sit down with my co-host and dad, Reverend Roy Fowler, to share wisdom. We use the book of Proverbs as our roadmap on how we're going to live a healthy and fulfilling life, with my dad bringing his biblical expertise and me bringing the real life experiences that many of us millennials face today. And please follow us on Instagram at A Product of Proverbs. If you like this podcast, we just ask that you share it with anyone that you feel it may help. And with that being said, let's get into today's show. What's going on, Dad?
Not much, Josh. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Every time we say this, you got not much going on.
And I got a whole lot going on all the time.
But how you doing?
I'm good. This is a good time for me because finished with Sunday worship, and that's always a good feeling. And then we get to come home, and your mother, she'll fix a meal for us, and we had a good meal today. And so things are just good, you know.
Sundays is always a good time. It's a routine that just has been in place for so long, decades now when you think about it.
You know, that's the way it's always been for years and years. You would always meet at, it used to be grandmother's house on Sunday. But you always gather, family always gathered on Sunday. It's just historically what we've done, and it's just good to do.
Okay, so today's topic is gonna be about money. So we're gonna talk about what a lot of people don't talk about, because it's an uncomfortable subject for most, because there is a certain level of discretion that you just gotta keep about your life, and nobody needs to know about what's going on. But from my observation as a community, we don't talk about money that much.
No, we do not talk about money.
I think it's because we feel like or think that if we talking about money, we're talking about our money. So you can talk about money and tell people how to handle money, how to manage money, how to live with money and control your money without telling them how you control your money.
Right.
But I think it's tricky for us in the community because, you know, pocket watching is going on, and then do got to keep a level of safety because you do kind of make yourself a target with certain things that you do.
Yes.
So we're very silent about money, but it's to our own detriment because financial literacy is very key and is a large part of a lot of people's struggles.
That's one of the problems I see historically with us is, as you said, we don't have financial understanding. And, you know, growing up, your parents never really talked to you about money. They just did what needed to be done. And if you were fortunate, you was raised in a home where it wasn't an issue and you didn't know what it took to do what they had to do. Consequently, our children grow up not understanding. And I think that's one of the things we have shortchanged our kids. We need to really teach kids the value of money because there's a value to it. You got to have it. That's your means of trade, a means of commerce. That's what you live with, you know? So we got to teach them. Kids don't understand. They grow up thinking money just fall out of the sky or grow on trees. And parents used to always say, what do you think? Money grows on trees? You didn't know where it came from.
You don't know where it come from. You really don't know where it's going to. You don't understand much of any of that. And like you said, it is to the detriment, especially for the younger generations, the younger kids, because look at myself back in high school, back in middle school, the clothes, the shoes, even in college, like even beyond that, how it gets bigger to the cars, the houses, the type of furniture, the whatever you end up buying. It comes off of your understanding of how money works. And I look at these kids not knowing what it takes, and parents probably putting themselves in tricky situations so that their kids can have these shoes.
Yes.
So that their kids can have these clothes that don't mean nothing. And the kids don't even really understand the ecosystem or the whole kind of circle of life and the sacrifices, what has to get taken from over here for it to work over here.
I got a question. Do you remember me when it came to purchasing things? And I would make this statement. that's going to cost me this many hours of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to put a value on time and money, because time is money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've done. See, if I have to work, if I make $10 an hour and I'm going to give you something that costs $50, then that's 5 hours of my life that's invested. And I would do that to get y'all to understand just how much things really cost. I don't know if you really understood me when I was doing that, but I would say that quite often.
I can see why you would say that, why it would be important that you teach that, why those are good things to stress and to pass on through your generations. Is time is money. Opportunity cost, like where you gonna spend your time, you could be losing money, you could be using money. Your time is your money. So as always, we got a proverb for this show, as it is a product of Proverbs. As last episode, we're gonna hit you with a 2-piece again. So you want to go first, or you want me to go first? Flip a coin.
I'll go first. The one that I have is Proverbs 22:1, and it says, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and love and favor rather than silver and gold." And one of the things I think that is stressing is the importance of integrity. I don't think that's necessarily minimizing the value of money and resources, but I think it's maximizing your integrity. And it's best to have integrity and a good name, because with a good name, you get favor. You know, there are some gentlemen I know that had that integrity, and with their name, you could get favor just with their name. And that's something that's hard to gain back if you lose it. So I would encourage you, as this proverb states, value that good name, and that good name comes about with integrity. Okay? Again, I'm not minimizing wealth. I'm not minimizing riches, silver, gold, any of that stuff. But you can put a price tag on that good name.
Yeah, and when you lose it, for the most part, it's gone. You can get it back, and you can get it back up to a certain percentage. But I can take this even more literally into maybe certain people's specific financial situations, but your credit score.
Yeah.
Credit score is that good name to lenders, to your bank. I can say how when I was first starting off and building my credit and shopping for cars and wanting the Mustang, but then ended up with the Honda Accord, and wanting and seeing how those payments was working, I was like, wow, me not having really established credit and trying to do this is like, it's tricky. Seeing how like getting approved for my first credit card and the limit versus when my credit score is 800. Seeing how they treat you at the dealership with that credit score versus seeing how they treat you at the dealership with no or a low credit score. Just kind of seeing what's available to you, like seeing the offers, the rates you get on things.
And the truth is that affect not just the rates you get on loans, that influence and affect your insurance costs and everything else. There's so much tied to that. The difference now is with the credit score, used to be there wasn't a credit score. I remember back during my dad's time, see, they knew people. So they would go to the creditors. They would go to whoever they need to go to, and they sit down and they had relationships, so they knew them. But you don't have that now. The only way they know you is through the credit score.
That number, that's very important, just because you said that's your avenue to business ventures. That's your avenue to business loans. That's your avenue to mortgages, even getting approved for apartments, getting your car, getting anything, getting financing for anything. Like that is very important. And cash is king, but you're going to need credit.
Well, most people don't have cash to buy the things that they need, not in this day and time.
And just like you're going to need credit, not to say that you need a credit card or to use credit to live on a daily basis, but I mean, if you want to buy a house, generally you might not have $400,000 set to the side.
Right.
Generally, if you want to invest in a business, you might not have $800,000, but you might can put something down and get a loan for the rest. So it's just like different things that credit score or that good name is very important. It's more desirable than great riches. I remember growing up, it would be tricky because you'd always say cash is king. Then you always say guard your credit score with your heart. Guard your credit, guard your credit. So you get caught up in between both. And now that I've been in both positions, so I've been high credit, not a lot of money, and I've been low credit, but cash. You get a lot farther with a high credit score and not a lot of capital behind it than you do with a little bit of capital, but no credit to take it nowhere. So it's a balance between the two, but you do have to understand that you need integrity. Integrity among your personal relations and your business relations. Like, you shouldn't be one that the banks don't want to open an account with because you file in disputes every other week. You shouldn't be one that they don't want to give you a card because you're missing payments.
Yeah, you won't pay your bill. And that's something you got to be careful of. Guard that. I would always tell y'all to guard your credit score. Guard it. Do what you can to keep it, because what happens is that follows you. And I would encourage people to do that. You know, if you got the money, I know sometimes you might run into hard times where you have to be late, but you know, a whole lot of people are late because they just don't want to pay. So they'll pay it when they get ready, not realizing that it's going to affect them in the long run. And that stays with you a long time too. Those things that takes time to fix. So yeah, I say guard that. And I agree with you in this, that passage with the good name can translate, and that's where you are. That can translate to your credit. Have good credit. Work where you are and try to maintain that the best that you can. Just value it. Understand that it's not something to just play with. You might not need it now, but you'll need it later. And I always tell you, prepare now for later.
Yep. I like the one that stuck with me the most was work hard now, play hard later. Play hard now, work hard later. That's the one that's just like, oh, wow. And you see it all around you. You even see it throughout many periods of your life. Well, when I played hard, I had to work hard for it a year after that. When I stayed down that year, I got to do a lot that next year. And then you put together like those type of strings, and it goes back to like Marissa's delayed gratification. Put together those strings, and then next thing you know, it's do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You just got to stay down with the discipline. So, and still piggybacking off of that last verse, and just us talking about credit, just want to take this opportunity to have a learning experience. So I have here with me kind of what goes into your credit score. So the number one thing are your on-time payments, like you said. So they want to believe that you can pay and you will pay your bill on time. And that's the highest impact on your credit score. Credit used is what percentage of your available credit are you using. They want you to stay underneath 30% on that. I probably won't go between all the percentiles, but just know that between or beneath 30%, you're very good. That's showing that we can give you credit because you're not using up all your credit. But if you use it up, then that's going to make you a lower credit score, because they're like, this person doesn't manage their money much because they have to use so much credit. The next one will be your inquiries. So how many times have you applied for credit within the last 2 years? Then you have your number of accounts, and that'll be just the total number. They want a good mix of credit cards, auto loans, student loans, say a mortgage. They want you to have a good balance of different type of accounts so that they understand that you know how credit works. And once you mix all those together, those factors, you get your credit score that essentially gives you a profile that says to a lender, this is this person's probability of paying back what you give them. This is how much you can trust that if you give this person a amount of money, you will see that back. And that's how your credit and good name works.
And you got to guard that. I do encourage you to guard it. If it's already messed up, which a lot of people have just played loosely with it, then start repairing it. Do what you can, because it's going to be important. And you got to be patient.
Yeah. You
didn't get in that shape overnight, and you're not going to fix it overnight. Avoid those fix it now scams.
Yeah, we'll get your credit score up 200 points in 30 days.
Yeah, that's a scam. You just go ahead and be patient and work it. Listen, you made this problem, just take time to fix the problem. And if you're patient with it and you, as I would say, persevere, you'll get there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's a good transition into the two-part to our double proverb. Is my proverb is Proverbs 22:7. It says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." And once you owe someone, you owe them. And part of having a good name is saying, "Hey, I said that I would pay you back when I borrowed this money." If you're a man of your word, you pay that person back for what you borrowed. You don't say, "I'm never going to pay that. I'm not paying them." You own it. You pay it because you technically work for that lender.
Yeah.
Which is a good transition into who is your lender, who's going to be your master. I personally bank with, I'm not going to put my bank on the podcast online forever, but I use a credit union. I would advise anyone to look into your options because credit unions are generally nicer masters than public banks.
Yeah.
Credit unions work with you. They give you better rates. They offer more services, and then you're a member, so you're kind of like family.
One of the things, too, as we were talking about it, we was talking about your credit, and Joshua just mentioned that it says the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. And that's true. When you borrow, they own that part of you. Mm-hmm. They really do. You serve them. And that's the way it is. And in this day and age, it's really hard to not be in some form of debt. But be careful of the debt you're in. When I'm counseling couples that's going to get married, I always tell them when we're talking about finances, I tell them there's a good rule is 80%. Just manage or plan on living on 80%. And that's a good rule for everyone. What you do, and I learned this from one of my uncles, you pay God, then you pay yourself. You give God his 10%, and you give yourself 10%. And then you got 80% you can work with. Now that 80%, people will say, well, I go ahead and pay my 10% to the church, then I save 10% so I can blow and just spend 80% like I want to. But in that, you got to understand, you've got to build in some short-term saving objectives. You just can't bank on that 10% because we're expecting you to let that 10% stay forever. That's future. But you've got to build in because there's going to be some things that's going to come up. Some emergencies going to come up. There's going to be some just normal things that's going to come up. So in building that 80%, make a budget out of that 80%, and you'll probably not run into any stress in living that. You got to make a budget. A budget is something that we don't like to do. But the truth is, if you don't tell the money where to go, then it'll just go where it wants to, and you won't know where it went. Now, question, have you ever, at the end of a pay period, a month or something, ask yourself, where did the money go? Well, the reason you don't know where it went, because you didn't send it. See, that's what a budget will do. So don't sweat over a budget, not wanting to do it. Say, you know how we do, like going to the dentist, getting your teeth pulled or cleaned or something. No, it's not like that. It's so you can know where you want your money to go. Because if you don't do that, it's going to go where it wants to go.
That's also one of my big gripes with auto pay. So I don't auto pay anything. I hate the concept of it because I want to log in on whatever day I want to pay and click the button to send my money off. I don't want for just the company to have a day that it's just going to come get my money. I just like the actual manual process of, okay, on this day I spent that. I generally pay all my bills on the same day. For that pay period, just go pay them all. I don't really want it sitting around and on this random Tuesday, it's going to pull out a certain amount. Just knock that out altogether. But that's my strategy. That might not work for all. For
Right.
others that aren't as organized, that they kind of might need that to just automatically take off for them because they might not remember.
And really, if that's what it takes for you, that works for you. But if, say, I'm not able to do that, but I do want to keep my record clean, then auto pay might work for me. So even though it might work better for you, and if I was more disciplined, it would work. Your method would work better for me. But perhaps I'm not that disciplined. And I know I got the money in there. Maybe I'm one of those persons that will have the money, but just not think about paying or care.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to mess up my credit.
Yeah.
But so that's how I am. It would be, the ideal thing would be for me to change.
Yeah.
And we should be willing to change to do better. But if you're not there yet, then you might benefit from having it come out at a certain time. But I agree, though, and I like it better when I push the button.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me push the button for when I want to pay. But I got to be disciplined to do that.
And that's actually the direction I was going with this episode when I first thought of it, before I thought to make it a more generic money episode, but in making it a more distractions episode, making it a more trinkets, like the little things that can throw us off course from reaching our goals because they're shiny. They sit on the side. Oh, look at that. I'll trade my meal for the next 2 weeks for something shiny that looks good. And there was a proverb, as I said earlier, that I just kind of misinterpreted. It was talking about the value of wisdom. I thought it was just talking it, and it was right, because wise words are far more valuable than rubies and gold. So wisdom and understanding is going to be more important to you than the car, that big house, the Rolex, the whatever it is that's your trinket, your distraction, whether it's the club, whether it's splurging in Gucci, whether everybody got a vice somewhere. We always have this conversation.
Yeah.
Everybody has a vice. You just can't let that be your distraction. I know, especially in this time that it is tax season. People getting back tax refunds and showing they whole backside. They getting back the tax refund. You know how we do. I always say every year, I'm getting some rims. Y'all ain't gonna keep holding me back, but nah,
But he ain't got those rims yet.
I've been saying I was buying rims with my tax refund since I was 16. Still ain't bought a set of rims yet, but it's okay. They 10s, but I keep them clean though. Nah, but yeah, just to avoid those little trinkets, to avoid those little small instant gratification things. You can go buy some new jewelry. You can go buy a whole bunch of new clothes. You can even go get a car. But like you always tell me, after 3 months of payments, is that car going to feel the same as when you just got your tax refund? After you've paid all your closing costs and you got that house and now you've stuck in the mortgage for $500,000 when you really need to be on one for $200,000, is that going to feel the same to you? Like, that's something that you taught heavy.
Yeah, because newness wear off quick. And I can say that from experience. When I was younger, I had fast cars, and I had money in my pocket, and it was an old mother at our church, and she said, "Roy, why don't you stop spending all your money on those cars?" Because I would buy them. I would get a new car. I'd get a new car. I'd buy something else. And I was doing that. And then it really dawned on me that, okay, why am I buying new cars all the time? That's because I'm trying to keep that luster, because after 2 or 3 months, it's over. Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking for the next one. And I finally found out, that I was stuck in that trap. And I got out of that trap. And I started buying things that were more practical. I like nice, but I drove a truck from 2000 and I still got it.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with that. That's what you do. It did what it needed to do. And so that's what you do. What makes me feel good is to open up my accounts and see, what I got in my account. Now that makes me feel good. More so than when I look around all the things that I own. Really. And everybody's not there, you know. I haven't always been there. I had to get there. And I went through the process and through the changes, the struggles, I guess, like everybody else. So I'm looking at it. I'm looking at my son sitting over there and the things that he's doing. I look back, and those are some of the same things that I did. And I'm trying to tell him that he don't need to do that, but he's got to experience it. And some things we just got to experience for ourselves.
That's facts, because I was at the BMW dealership this weekend, and that was one thing I had to experience for myself. The BMW is the ultimate driving machine. Because you know I've been a Mercedes-Benz fan the whole time, looking at E-Class. I know I don't want to C. I know I don't want to pay for AMG. I went and drove, and it's crazy you say that because you said practical. To me, going and buying a regular BMW is practical. Think about how crazy that is. That's just a false sense of reality, I guess. But that was the ultimate driving experience. I said I need it.
And I heard people say that about the BMW. You don't buy a BMW because it's practical or any of the other things that you buy cars for. You buy it because it is the ultimate driving experience. And I've never driven one.
Don't go.
I've ridden in them because, you know, my sister owns one and her husband. I've ridden in a BMW, but I've never driven one.
So I've only been driving. So it's tricky because Granny's Benz has just been the ultimate drive to me, that E-Class. So it's just like, that's just perfect with the air suspension. It just floats along. And then my Corvette is just like the ultimate, okay, you driving. Like you put that in track mode, yes, and you get to feel the turns and all of that. The Infiniti was it tried to do the sporty thing, but it was just a lack of real like luxury feel. Remember I had that Infiniti for a little stretch? Yeah. That BMW was the perfect blend between Mercedes and Corvette. Because it was like the luxury and the feel good of the Mercedes. Everything was tight and together. You know, like I had the Mustangs and they have loose stuff and they fun and fast and loud, but they ain't like a nice car, you know. The BMW comes with like that fit and finish, the German engineering.
Yep,
of that,
there's a difference.
Of that Mercedes, but then that kind of road feel and that sport of the Corvette at the same time. I was in heaven. I said, give me at least a year or two because I want to keep my Jeep too. So I never want to be one car. Again, I always want the Jeep for when it's raining because I don't like to really get too sporty in the rain too much anymore.
Yeah,
so I want to have the Jeep, but I said, just work with me. But nah. One day it'll be another coupe again. But that's our vice, as you can see. That's our shared vice is cars. The fast cars and
motorcycles.
Yeah. I had that accident early, so I never got into motorcycles, thank God. But whatever your vice is out there that's got you spending up all your money, I mean, it feels good when it's new, and it feels good when you get to wear it. But then think about all the time that it spends sitting in your closet. That's what I think about my Rolex. Like, okay, yeah, it's nice. You wear it to the wedding. Yeah, it's why you force it with this fit. But then for the most part, it's sitting just in a safe. Yeah. You know, like it's just sitting somewhere, not being used, just being owned. You got to pay more for an insurance policy on it. And that's what a lot of things are. Like those little trinkets and things that they're just an extra thing to worry about. Like I think about my Corvette, how stressful that ownership experience was.
Now I can witness to that because that's one of the things when I had my Corvette, I didn't even want to drive it because I didn't want anybody to hit it. I didn't want anybody to steal it. And I was always concerned about it. And one day I just woke up and said, why am I spending all this money on insurance and for this car when I don't even enjoy it? I mean, it's cool when you're driving it or when you look out there and look at it because they are so nice. But I'm thinking, what am I doing? And I'll never forget, I sold all that. I sold everything, and I bought me a car that was a nice everyday driver. And I've been on that path since. And this was back in the early, mid-'80s, you know?
There's a lot of ways to save money, and I think that's the important conversation to circle back to when we started the episode. that's the conversation that has to be had, because when I think about what was taught for the most part outside of cash is king, guard your credit, work hard now, play hard later, just kind of stacking the marathon mentality that you pushed, was save your money. Save your money. Save your money, because one day it's going to save you. Save your money. You got some money? Save your money. But nobody said how.
Yeah.
Nobody said why. If you knew why I was saving my money, says to kids, it's just like, oh man, adults just don't never want me to buy nothing or have nothing. They say save your money. I want to use my money. But if the adult says save your money so you can buy something bigger later. Save your money so that you have it for this. Save your money so that you can do these type of things. Then you might be more inclined and learn how to save your money. Or save your money invested in this. Save your money, it's going to make more money.
Yes.
Then maybe people would be saving more and doing more on that tip. But when you just say save your money.
Yeah, that don't really carry any weight, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're young.
And even when you old.
Well, I don't know Josh now.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that they want to save. They're trying to save. That's their New Year's resolution, but they don't understand how to save. They don't understand what is saving. Do I put it in my savings? Do I have a lot of money in my checking? They said I need to buy stocks. What's a Roth IRA? Am I putting money in my 401k? Am I saving in emergency savings? It's a lot. If you just tell an adult that's not financially literate, it's a lot for them to digest save your money.
Yeah.
It's a certain level of financial literacy that is shared amongst, say, our circle or certain circles that people are in. But there are certain circles that is nowhere near there. They don't even understand the base level. Like, it's certain circles just because of how people live and where people live and how society is, where 401k ain't even a thought.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's hard, but we have to at times we have to just realize that everybody isn't where we're currently at. Because we, at one time, wasn't where we currently at.
Some of the things we talked about was the traps and trinkets, where people get into debt based on shiny things. But we're going to grow from that, and we're not going to be spending a whole lot of money on things that's really valueless, okay? So now you'll be able to get your money in line, and you'll be able to pay your bills. And once you get that budget and see where you want your money to go, then you'll find out that you have more money. Most people really have more money than they think, but because they don't hand it out, it just go away. They don't know. And you'll see that you can have more money. And you've got to put a little bit aside. I'm not going to tell you how much, but start with something. Because you want to be able to have something for the future, and you want to have something for emergencies.
Plus, you just want to have something for now. Like, your discretionary spending should be within your budget.
Yes.
So you should have, okay, well, I got $200 left over this month. I can go get me something. I have $200 left over from everything I've paid, all my money. I got $200 left. I can buy me something. But I have $200 left in my discretionary category. When you're out spending and deciding how you're going to hang out with friends, what you're going to do for leisure, you say, well, my discretionary spending or my entertainment budget says I have this much. I can go out with y'all.
Okay, talk about that, because that's part of that 80%. When we was talking about 10% that you put aside, that's for the future. 10% you give to God, that's stewardship. The 80%, in that 80%, you're going to have some of that for, what'd you call it?
Entertainment.
You've got to do that within that, you know? And like you said, so at the end of the month, you haven't spent this that you've had per week. So now you've got extra money that you can do something big.
You can invest, you can save, you can spend. But it shouldn't just be, I do, and I'm working off of whatever I have at the moment.
Right.
It has to be something kind of more systematic, and I'm working with all that I have total. I'm working with out of my total budget, and that's in factoring in what you spend in 401k. It's factoring in your living expenses. That's factoring in gas, groceries. Your budget got to go down into detail so that you have an understanding of your money. And then once you have an understanding of your money, you manage it from there.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand it, you can't manage it. And before we leave, I'm going to leave you with another one of my favorite quotes that has always held true. If you can't handle a dime, you can't handle a dollar.
That's right. Who told you that?
You. So think about that, because you guys are on the right path. So you have promotions coming up. You have new jobs. You'll be graduating from school. You'll have new opportunities. You'll have new investments coming up. You'll have new opportunities to build wealth. You'll have new disposable income. And if you can't handle a dime, you can't handle a dollar. So if you're struggling now, you're going to struggle then, because the saying goes, more money, more problems.
Yeah, if you can't manage 100, you can't manage 1,000. And that's a biblical principle. Say, if you can't handle a little, you're not going to be given much, because you can't handle it. If you're not faithful over the little thing, you won't be faithful over the big thing. You know, you won't do it.
So that means get faithful over your little things, and there'll be big things to come.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that, we're going to sign off another episode in the books. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this episode, we just ask that you just share it. Share it with anyone you feel it may help. Share it with anyone you may feel can gain better understanding, and that this could help them move in the right direction. But with that, we're going to sign off, and another episode in the books.
All right.
Let's go.